Today I'm going to teach you how to win. I'm going to explain why you haven't been winning so far. Might sound like a bold claim, but this video may just change the trajectory of your life. It has for me. This is the key takeaway I've made from the last 7 to 8 years of business, fitness, relationships, general life. I'm going to break it down for you today in the next 3 or 4 minutes. So, I don't think anyone's particularly excited about living an ordinary life. Normal physique, average relationship, not much money. No one really wants that, right? Some people are content with that. I know you're not one of those people, but very few people ever achieve anything special in any of these 3 categories. Most people, in fact, dream about it their whole lives and never fucking get there. So I'm gonna break down the easiest possible way I know to actually achieve goals. Just for a bit of background to prove some credibility, I've achieved what most people would call a dream physique. I did that relatively early. I've been able to maintain that consistently as I've developed a successful career, as I've had many successful relationships. And I would say I'm grasping a little bit better what it means to have a fulfilling life. I know I'm young, a lot's gonna change. I don't have kids yet. That will change a lot. But in general, this is a framework I've used and it's helped me achieve a number of goals over and over again. So I'm gonna share that with you now. The way I see it, there are a few problems with most people when they try and achieve their goals, right? Number one is that they don't clarify what the goal actually is. Specificity is super important. I'm going to use a variety of examples, but something like fitness is very easy to relate to. It's quite black and white. Everyone can understand it. So let's take fitness as an example. A lot of people have fitness goals, and their goals are to look a certain way, but they're not specific about how they actually want to look. They just have a vague idea of abs and big muscles and tall and strong. You have to be specific. You have to outline something in a measurable way. Now, the reason most people don't want to do this, and they don't want to be absolutely specific, let's say I had a goal of I want to get stronger. That's vague, that's shit, get rid of it. We need to be specific. I want to bench 150 kilograms. Specific goal. The reason most people aren't specific is because it specifies conditions for failure. I once heard Jordan Peterson talk about how if your goal is all vague and foggy, you won't really know if you've not made it yet. If there's no timeline, there's no measurable metric by which you can determine if you've achieved it or not, you can just sort of exist in this vague, fuzzy, maybe I'm almost there, wonderland. If you're specific, you will know if you don't reach your goal. If your goal is I want to bench 150 kilos, every day you've not benched 150 kilos, you'll know you've not made that goal yet because it's specific. It's the same with financial. You want to make $1 million a year. That's trackable, mate. That is very trackable. Pull up your bank account, talk to your accountant. It's very obvious if you have or you haven't hit that goal. So the first thing people need to do, you in particular, I'm speaking to you here, be specific. Set a really specific goal and do this across all aspects of your life. If you're a bit vague and foggy with everything, I'd recommend focusing on one goal at a time because it can be overwhelming. As soon as you start being specific with goals, you realize how far away from all of them you are, and that can be disheartening, right? So be specific, start with the most important goals first. For a lot of people, that's gonna be physical and financial. Now, here comes the little trick. And the beauty of this trick is it can be applied regardless of how far along the path you are. Let's take the $1 million example. You wanna make $1 million. If you've not made a single dollar, you can still use this trick. If you've made $990,000, you can use this trick too. This is the trick I call one small step. And I got it from that famous one small step for man speech from Neil Armstrong when he pretended to land on the moon. It's very simple and you're never gonna forget it when I tell you. Basically, every goal is a certain distance away. That distance, no matter how great it is, can be made up by a series of steps. A series of actions will direct you towards that goal. I say this to people and everyone agrees. If you have a lofty goal, all you need to do is break it down to small, digestible chunks that are actually achievable and you'll get to the goal. It's that simple. Now, I say it's that simple, there are some complications. A few things. Number one, if you set the steps too large, they're gonna be intimidating, you're not gonna do them. Let's take this YouTube example. I'd like to build an audience on YouTube. I'd like to help them with their health and fitness. That would be very fulfilling for me. I know that one of the key steps to growing a YouTube audience is consistent posting. I know that if I post every day or every other day, that's a tick in that box, consistent posting, right? If I determined that the necessary step to growing on YouTube was posting 5 times a day, that's too intimidating. That's too big. I can't do that. I don't have the time, the energy, or even the ideas to post 5 times a day. So if you make those little steps not little, they're too intimidating, you won't do them. So you need to be humble enough to know, okay, this is my goal, break it down to logical steps. What's the smallest possible step that I can actually achieve? Because this doesn't work if you don't take the first step. The one small step system doesn't work if you're not willing to take one small step. That's why it's called a small step. It's not one giant leap to your goal, because that's very hard. That's basically luck. You got lucky, you struck gold somehow. So make it small enough that you can achieve it. The second place this falls down is if you don't have a clear plan, if you don't really understand how to get to that goal. Because a lot of the things people really want in life naturally are difficult to get. A good physique, a lot of money, a great loving relationship. If these were easy to get and simple to get, everyone would have them. Because of that, the nature of that means that you may not know the actual direct path to get something. Let's take a physique. for example, because that's something I know how to do. If you want a better physique, let's say you want to look, you're very specific. I want to bench 140 kilos. I want to have 6% body fat. I want to be back dominant. You have a very clear picture of what you want to look like, right? If you don't have any experience in the gym, or maybe you have a year's experience, you've watched some videos, you don't really know what you're doing, you can break that down into lots of little steps. But those little steps might be leading you in the wrong direction. That's why you see people who are super consistent at something that sort of is aiming towards a goal, but because they don't really know what they're doing, they never reach that goal. They always stay at this low level. Yes, they're taking steps, but the steps are in the wrong direction. With fitness, that's why I always encourage people to invest in a coach, invest in a program at least, or at the very least, become super educated for free on YouTube. That's currently what I'm doing. It's the same with everything else. Financial goals especially, there's a whole lot of mumbo jumbo out there and you can take a lot of steps in the wrong direction. Believe me, I know, I've made those wrong steps many times because you don't have a direct path. You don't know the clearest path. So we're gonna wrap up this video and we're gonna give you a way to apply this right now. Okay, let's pick the most valuable goal you have. Build a better physique, great. We're gonna make it specific and measurable. Like I said, I want visible six-pack abs, so under 10% body fat. I wanna be able to bench 100 kilos and I wanna be able to run a 4-minute mile. Okay, specific, measurable. We're now gonna break that down into the steps required to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And we're going to do that in a way that's educated and informed. So if you know nothing, we're going to hire a coach. Maybe you hire me, maybe you hire an athletics coach. If you're educated, you use your education to build out those steps. And then you do it one small step at a time, one small achievable step at a time. And bit by bit, you're going to get closer to that goal. And the beautiful thing about this is every little step you take successfully, your brain recognizes and releases dopamine because it says, hey, I'm actually moving towards a goal that I value. That's so rare. These days, that's so rare. People just spin around doing nothing all day. They have these goals, they never get anywhere near them. So when your brain is like, hang on, I can see I'm headed towards that goal. That's where your motivation, that's where your discipline comes from. You know, it's a lot easier to stay motivated and disciplined when you're headed in the right direction, you can feel it. Bit of a different video for you today. If you got a little bit of motivation from there, you think you're gonna apply that in your life, and I think you should, feel free to subscribe. Gonna be back with some more fitness content tomorrow. I'll see you in the next one.